Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Our Issues Birmingham. Today's guest is Judge Teresa Pulliam, and we have a very long history, don't we?
Too long.
We won't talk about the specifics of it, but we've both worked in the criminal justice system for quite a while, but she is now the executive director of Redemption Earned. And I think I've had a guest on from Redemption Earned before, but I'll let Judge tell you specifically what Redemption Earned does. But before she's going to tell you that, she's going to tell you how she got to be the executive director of Redemption Earned. So, how did this happen?
Well, it's hard.
I get asked that question a lot, and I
You
just
never know where your life is going to lead you.
no. You say
and
yes.
what door's going to open and what door's going to close.
The answer, I think, is I said yes.
I said yes.
So, how'd you get here?
Well, 42 years ago, I started my career in the Mobile DA's office. Got married, moved to Birmingham, continued on in the Jefferson County DA's office. Went into private practice for 15 years. And then close to 18 years ago, I became a circuit court judge in the criminal division and served in the division in Jefferson County for close to 18 years. And
Wow.
retired recently in January of 2023. And I took a year and I did lawyering and I did some judging especially, and I did some consulting. And Sue Bell Cobb called me, Justice Sue Bell Cobb called me one day and said, "Do you want to go back to work?" And I said, "Yes, I do. I miss helping people and I miss interacting with people, other lawyers." And so Redemption Earned is a nonprofit that she started about 3.5 years ago.
I remember.
And it is solely, the mission is to serve legally at parole hearings, both medical and straight parole and medical furlough, those individuals who we have vetted, who are no longer a threat to the community, and who are usually over 65 years old and have served over 25 years and are sick, very sick and ill.
And I might add, I believe some, if not most, are nonviolent offenses. Although there may be some violent offenders in there, their risk to reoffend is probably next to nothing because they're so old.
Well, most all our clientele are not a threat to the community. That's why we're representing them. We do a good job in vetting them. That
I was
means
going to
looking
ask.
at the case, looking at what the crime is, looking at their disciplinaries while they're in DOC, looking at what they've accomplished while they've been in DOC. Have they been to Ingram State? Have they received any SAP certificates? Those kind of things we're looking at.
I had the Ingram State lady on. That's who
She's
I had
awesome.
on.
She's a
I can't
huge
remember her name right now.
collaborator with us.
Yeah, she was. I did not even know that those things were available in DOC.
They're available,
Department.
I believe it's every facility now, and they're
Yeah.
the only educational program within the prison itself. So
Yeah.
it's a wonderful opportunity for people who are in prison, who believe that they're going to get out one day, to accomplish something and to learn a trade so that when they get out, they can actually make a lot of money.
Well, I think Justice Cobb started Redemption Earned because of what she perceived in reality was a flaw in the system in its handling of people who had paid their debt to society and were no longer a threat to society, but the makeup, and I'm not just talking about the personal makeup, but just the bureaucracy of the parole board was serving no purpose for which it was intended. And so she got engaged in starting a nonprofit called Redemption Earned.
And we have,
And you said yes.
and we have, well, she got me started in the whole world of sentencing reform for judges and for prison reform after all the lawsuits got filed. And so I started driving to Montgomery 18 years ago. And I'll still be driving to Montgomery and trying to advocate and be a resource for the legislature and alerting them to problems that we do have with the parole board at the present time. although we've improved the last year, 8% is not it's just not a livable figure that
That
the
was
system can live with.
before 2025.
Yes, in 2024, the parole rate went up a little bit over 20%. So we've had an increase, and we've done some good, and we've raised some public awareness about the issues, but it has not been a realistic way to
I've been
handle the
there.
criminal justice system.
No, I've been there. I quit going.
Well,
It's
judges
very
are sending
frustrating.
people to prison every day. Somebody has to be getting out, or we're going to spend nothing but time building new prisons with money we do not have as a state for a long, long time to come.
Well, I think what the general public doesn't understand, they have sort of a lash them to the irons mentality, but not every individual needs to be treated like that. And those that needed to be treated like that only need to be treated like that for a time that's sufficient but not greater than necessary to accomplish what sentencing is all about to begin with, I would say.
Well, I believe in redemption. Everybody has to earn redemption, earn it.
Yeah, but our
But at
country,
the same time, we need to be smart on crime, which means to let people out of prison through the system who don't need to be there anymore and who are costing the state of Alabama hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for their medical care.
well, we've just announced 2 new 4,000 bed facilities that one is not finished, one's not even ground broken, with COVID money, which I never quite understood, but I don't question it. But that's not going to solve the problem. 8,000 beds? How many people we have incarcerated? 20 plus thousand?
We have an entire unit. This was shocking to me as a judge, but I went on a tour of St. Clair facility one time. We weren't around the corner, and they said, "No, there are going to be a lot of people in here, so don't let it shock you." And I went inside, and it was like a Butler building filled with beds and incarcerated people in the beds on dialysis.
Oh my.
Okay, at a cost of about $100,000 a year, dialysis that our state is
Per
paying
prisoner?
for. Yes.
We're going to take a break. We've run over because this is a fascinating subject, but don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. I'm speaking with Judge Teresa Pulliam, old friend, great judge, and now Executive Director of Redemption Earned, and doing a very good job at trying to fix a very broken system. So let's say Redemption Earned accomplishes what it's trying to accomplish. What comes from that with this individual that you've worked hard to get into society?
We have 3 lawyers, 4 including myself. We have a certified social worker that does a tremendous job, and we have a nurse that makes visits to the prison along with our lawyers. And we actually represent people, identify people, and represent them at the parole board level, and try to secure medical furloughs, which is a discretionary tool that the commissioner has, that you don't have to go in front of the parole board. And those are life-threatening, terminally ill, or permanently incapacitated.
So that can go to DOC?
That goes to the commissioner's desk. And
That's good.
it's a great tool that he has at his disposal to get those people that are really urgently needing out of prison so that they can go to the VA hospital. They can go to a assisted living facility. There are people that are in vegetative states that are in our prisons.
People have to understand that we had a 3 strikes and you're outlaw way back when, and it created part of this problem, if not a good bit
Yes,
of
the
this
habitual
problem,
felony offender.
because it mandated judges like her at the circuit court level when she was there to impose a sentence that perhaps wasn't reasonable, but she had no choice because she had to follow the law. That's what she's sworn to do. So we're just seeing the repercussions from what that, quote, politically correct habitual offender law, lock them up, throw away the key, has created from a practical standpoint. So back to the reentry program.
Our social worker develops a reentry program working with the lawyer. And so we're able to identify halfway houses that they can go to, identify all of the services that they're going to need that we can fix them up with, or take care of all their necessities such as getting a Medicaid card or getting a driver's license or a felony ID card, all of those things that are an impediment to somebody who's given $10 and put on a bus and say, see
Have a
ya.
nice day.
Yeah. So I think part of our success in front of the parole board has been the reassurance that we give them that we have vetted these people, and 2, that there is a plan in place. Because we all know in the system, if you do not have a plan, you're going to falter out there and you're going to end up back in trouble. Not that these people could get into trouble because they can't walk very well, but they're going to dialysis, they're going to cancer treatment. They are in that type of phase of their life, so we need to make sure that they have transportation to those places.
So we have like 26,000 people in prison, right? Something like that?
Give or take.
So we're building an 8,000 bed, 2 units. Of these individuals you have just described, how many do you think of those are in custody? I know you can't get to all of them.
Well,
and you're working at it.
We're working at identifying those people, and we get messages from family members. We get applications directly from an incarcerated person. We get referrals from the infirmaries within the Department of Corrections.
I mean, but do you think we're talking about 1,000 people, 2,000 people?
Yes, there are at least 1,000. And the commissioner himself, John Hamm, identified at the judges' conference this January that he has 100 beds that are total care, meaning they're total care beds. They're taken up in an infirmary within a prison facility where they need full-time care.
See, the idea is to allow those beds to be occupied by someone that should be there.
If we can get them out of the prison system and get them again to the VA, or get them on Medicaid and into a nursing home, or get them to their daughter or son that wants to take care of them and drive them to cancer treatment, isn't it smart that we do that? Doesn't it save the state of Alabama money?
Well,
as be the right thing to do.
Let's say they don't have dialysis or an abscess tooth. It's almost $30,000 a year per inmate.
Correct.
To keep them. And that's assuming they don't have a hiccup in their health.
And again, judges that are sending people to prison, we're not involved in the part about them getting out or going in front of the parole board. Most judges are not involved in that, so we don't know. But I can venture to say, and I'm speaking as a former president of the association, Alabama Circuit Judges Association, most of the judges on the circuit, especially criminal cases, understand that that person is going to come up for parole one day, and that if he has redeemed himself and proven himself worthy, that he should get out.
Okay.
And I don't think any of us had any idea that there was an 8% parole rate, because again, it just is science. You sending people in, people have got to get out.
Yeah. Thanks to Ivana Harinkyu. Mm-hmm. She really did a great job.
She's done a great job.
We're going to take a short break and I'll finish up with some feel-good stories about what Redemption Earned has done. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We've been talking with Judge Teresa Pulliam and her efforts to try to help fix a very broken system that's just simply not working. And she has been successful in some instances. And when I say she, I'm referring
legal
to
team.
the team. It takes a village to do what she does because the bureaucracy involved. It was enough for me to just stop doing it rather than deal with it because I didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
But you've had some success.
We have, and I'd love to thank UAB for the partnership that we have with them. We're a community partner with UAB. That's where our offices are, and we have interns coming and going. We have undergraduate UAB interns. We have Cumberland Law student interns. We do a clinic at Cumberland. We have University of Alabama Law School students coming. So we are constantly teaching and using students to help us in our work, which has been very rewarding for me. But yes, we have had some great success stories since I've been there, and I started in September. One lady who's elderly, I don't want to say how old she is, but she's in her 70s, and she served a long time. And she is the one that had
She really knows how to hurt a guy.
renal failure. And she was the one on dialysis. And the guards at Tutwiler thought so highly of her that they put their personal money together and bought her a wig so that when she was wheeled out of Tutwiler prison in a wheelchair, you know, they were all there to clap and send her off.
And she had been there how long?
Over 20 years, I believe. And
For like a theft-related offense, probably?
I can't remember what the offense was right now. But she went back home to her house where her niece had been living. And so we've gotten churches to come in and help clean up and repair the house. We've gotten furniture and clothes and cookware and all of those items to her. And we've gotten her transportation to dialysis 3 times a week. And so she is living her life again.
That's
where
fantastic.
She needs to be. There's also a gentleman who was we call it for the infirmed at Hamilton, Alabama facility, where a lot of elderly people are. He served 35 years for a robbery case where nobody got hurt. And this was straight parole, not medical parole like Ms. Harris was, but this was medical. This was parole, just straight. And so he had very few, if any, disciplinaries the whole time he had been there. He was in his 70s as well. The lawyer who was successful at the parole board went with the interns. We have some mental health interns as well, and the social worker. They went all to Hamilton, and they were there when he walked out, and he was able to walk out in good shape. He's in pretty good health. And so they took him to Urban Cookhouse for lunch. And one of the volunteers went to the manager and said, "This man has not eaten a meal outside of prison for 35 years.
Chill
Make
bumps.
it good.
Chill bumps.
Make it good." And they brought him a great lunch and a cookie cake. And he is living at a halfway house, and we've sort of adopted him. We've gotten him clothes and good coats, and people go over to see him at the halfway house and help him with whatever needs he has.
Well, when you have these success stories, surely you make that a part of a presentation of someone you're currently representing when you're standing in front of the 3-judge board of paroles. Now, we all know, it's not a secret, that we have one outlier on the parole board.
Well, you also only have 2 minutes to talk. 2 minutes. And it's very challenging. Very challenging.
Oh, you can't do it in 2 minutes.
You do need it. And one of the
2
bills
minutes.
that we're
That's
advocating
about,
for.
they take less time than that to deliberate, in my experience. Less than 2 minutes.
Yes, they do. Sometimes they take a lot longer than that, though. But we have several bills that are currently pending in the legislature that we're helping collaborate and advocate for. One of the bills has to do with medical parole and making it more accessible to geriatric permanently disabled and terminally ill people that are in the prison. And we also are advocating for there to be a virtual presence at a parole board for the person that is being spoken about. People would be surprised to know we've never had parole, a hearing with the actual incarcerated inmate there.
So that he could be questioned by the parole board.
Right.
And see him, see what he looks
And might
like.
talk to him and ask him
Ask him
questions.
some questions.
Right. And when
You know-
Representative England asked the chairwoman of the parole board, don't you think it would be important for you to have that opportunity either in person or virtually on Zoom? Because we have that capacity in all the facilities. We got it in COVID, where we could take pleas in the prisons. And she said no. She didn't think it would be helpful.
Well, I guess that supports the old expression, ignorance is bliss. Sorry. Well, Chris England, Jim Hill, I hate to say it, but we really need lawyers
Senator Shambles.
in our legislative body because they understand things that non-lawyers don't about how the system operates. So don't be too critical of us lawyers.
Tommy, I agree with you that we need a lot more lawyers in the legislature, and that they will call people in the criminal justice arena and ask their opinions and ask for help if they don't understand a particular situation. And David Faulkner and Ontario Tillman are friends of mine and good lawyers in the legislature, and I think will make a difference.
Well, God bless you for doing what you do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for asking me.
I know you were hesitant at first, but not because of your subject matter, but just because these bright lights.
Well, as a judge, you spend a lot of time running from the press and saying no comment. So it's a new world for
Unlike me, don't get between me and a camera. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Thanks for being with us this week, and we'll see you next Sunday.